Call the June meeting of the Jackson City Schools Board of Education to order. Need a roll call, please.
McDonald.
Present.
Moore.
Here.
Harless.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
All are present.
And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Smith.
Yes.
Harless.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Smith.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Harless.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Howard.
Okay, it's recommended that the board approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A is a recommendation to approve resignations from Rich Hughes and Tammy Stewart for the positions as noted. Item B is a recommendation to employ Debbie Jones and Dave Rayburn as van drivers for the upcoming school year. Item C is a recommendation to approve employment of 047 classified employees, Kelsey Morris and Faye Swackhammer, for the positions as noted. Item D is a recommendation to employ classified subs. There are 3 of those individuals there, positions as noted. Item E is a recommendation to approve a whole list of volunteers for the upcoming school year and current coaching seasons, actually. And let me just say before we go any further than that, a lot of these individuals will be back on here at a later date. We've arrived at an MOU with the union. So right now they'll be classified as volunteers, and as we proceed through contract negotiations, at some point these people, the ones who were normally compensated previously, will be hired in their respective positions. Item F is a recommendation to approve a contract with the Gallia Vinton Jackson JVS, and that's for co-op special education and related services. Item G is a recommendation to approve a lease agreement with Rio Grande Community College for the use of our chemistry lab for their classes that they hold here in town. They don't have a lab down there. Item H is a recommendation to approve an MOU with Hopewell Health Centers to provide counseling service, behavioral health services to our students in the Jackson City School District. Item I is a recommendation to approve a contract with Valley Local Schools with Bruce Ottens. He's a data network systems manager. We do this every year. Hopefully we don't have to use him too much. Item J is a recommendation to approve student accident insurance rates, and those rates are listed there. Item K is a recommendation to approve membership into the High Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding. Item L is a recommendation to approve membership into CHORUS, the Coalition of Rural Appalachian Schools. Item M is a recommendation to approve lunch and breakfast prices for the upcoming school year. Item N, recommendation to approve the elementary handbook for the upcoming school year. Item O is a recommendation to approve the high school and middle school handbook for the upcoming school year. Item P is a recommendation to approve a list of policies. Item Q is a recommendation to create a special revenue fund known as the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. Item R, recommendation to establish a special revenue fund known as the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund. Item S, a recommendation to approve a blended learning declaration. And I want to go on record here as saying that doesn't mean that we're doing that. It's just something that we had to do in the event that we might need to do that going down the road. So it is on file with the High Department of Education. The board needs to approve that this evening. Item T is a recommendation to approve insurance renewal. This is for our casualty and property insurance for the district. And I believe, Mr. McDonald, that concludes the consent agenda.
All right. Are there any items that need removed for separate consideration from board members? If not, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Smith,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes. We go to new business, and we got a couple items on agreements. Mr. Howard, you want to explain?
Yes, this is a contract year for our, all three of our unions. OPC 046, which is our classified, full-time classified staff, and 047 is our part-time people. Both of those unions have agreed that it's in the best interest of themselves and the district, given the current economic situation and not knowing what school funding is going to be like for this next coming year. So we have agreed to roll the contract over for 1 year, and so we will take a look at it next year and make a decision at that point what to do with it. But this is a 1-year rollover. So item A, I'd like the board to ratify a negotiated agreement with OPC 046, and that is for a 1-year rollover.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Morris,
Yes.
Harless.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item B, similarly, the other union of OPC, the part-time staff, agreed also to the same terms, so nothing will change in the contract. We'll just roll the contract over until next year, so we need a approval from the board to do that as well.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the 047?
So moved. Second.
Morris,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes. And we'll move on to the financial report. Ms. Strasser.
There are a few things here, so just bear with me. Item A is the treasurer's report. However, this is for the period ending May 31st, as we haven't concluded all of June yet.
Need a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Smith,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Item B is to approve the final copy of the transfers and advances. I will say there aren't any advances that you will be approving. These are just the standard transfers that we have discussed in previous meetings and for year-end balancing.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Harless,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And item C is the certificate of available balances for both FY20 and the new FY21.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Smith,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And item D is the certificate of resources for 20 and then the estimated resources for 21.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Smith,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And item D is the permanent appropriations for 20 and 21 as well.
Item E.
I'm sorry, item E,
Okay.
yes.
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Second.
Harless.
Harless.
Morris,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And item F is to approve the 5-year forecast as presented.
And need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Morris,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Harless,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
The motion passes, and that's all I have, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Go to information discussion items. We got 3 items on there that, Mr. Howard, you want to
Yeah.
talk about.
Couple of things here. I've given you a handout on something that we want to try this year at Jackson High School. It's a senior release. And the way that would work is that senior students would be able to not attend school the first 3 periods of the day or the last 3 periods. It's a 2-page document. What that would do is a lot of kids have, in the past, have wanted to maybe get a job. They'll be getting out of school at 1 o'clock or thereabouts. They could go ahead and go to work, or they could do some work before they actually came to school. We're not going to make that a requirement, though, that they have to be doing that, because we can't have kids coming and going, throughout the year. So it'll just be up to their parents. And there are some guidelines. They have to have a certain GPA. They can't be missing school. Attendance plays into it as well. But another thing that this could potentially do is, with the COVID this year, if there's ever a time that you don't want as many students in the building, this might be the time. And so I don't know how many students would possibly take advantage of this opportunity, but it's something that we want to offer this year to our students. And the privilege can be revoked if they get in trouble or miss too much school, or and they have to leave every day. You can't just decide that you want to go down and hang out in the gym or go hang out in some teacher's classroom. They have to leave every day at that time, and they have to vacate the school property. But this will be something that Mr. Haynes and Mr. Schwackhammer will go over thoroughly with the students, and then the students will have the opportunity to. They have to make application, and then someone will thoroughly check their records and make sure that they actually qualify, and some students may be able to take advantage of this.
So it's not for jobs, it's just a release program?
It's not necessarily for jobs. I would expect that most of them that do it would probably want to do it for a job, but they don't have to have
Okay.
a job. Because if we say that, then if someone loses their job, then what do you do with them if they've missed 4 weeks of those 3 periods of classes? You can't just walk back in the middle of after you've missed 4 weeks. So,
Will they be applying for this for the year, or will it be done every 9 weeks, or?
it may be on a semester basis.
I would think so.
More than likely, probably, the semester would be a good time to reevaluate, because somebody may do it and then decide that it's not for them and they want to come back, and we don't
Okay.
want to have a kid say, we have to say, you can't be here the whole year when they're wanting to come back and make a mistake.
It does mention it down there, I think, under number
semester.
5 there, it mentions,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says.
Okay, yeah, it does, you're right.
each semester.
Sorry.
So this is something that, it doesn't require board approval. I just wanted to update the board that we're going to be offering this year. So if you hear about it, you will have heard it here first. Item B is the Athletic Hall of Fame. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about, frankly, probably way too long, and we needed to do something with the Athletic Hall of Fame. I know Mr. Stevens has been working on it for quite a while. Actually, last night we had a meeting of the Athletic Council, myself and Mr. Stevens, and I think we made a whole lot of progress last night, and we're ready to roll it out. I believe that we can go ahead and plan. We're planning on having our first class inducted this year. Hopefully have the names of this year's inductees be announced around the Apple Festival time, if I'm not mistaken. But the actual ceremony would take place sometime during basketball season, assuming we get to have a basketball season. And the induction we would do it during the halftime of a varsity or JV basketball game. Part of the reason for that is because we talked about when's the best time to do it. You may have a bigger crowd for football, but again, weather could play a factor. You could be pouring down the rain. There may be some elderly people that are being inducted, and they don't want to come and sit out in the rain. It's not going to get, basketball contest is not going, more than likely not going to get canceled. Very rarely do they get canceled because of the weather and you're inside, so we felt like that was the best place to do it. And we'll have, we plan on having a little reception or something similar to that for those people who are inducted. I think the first year, this year, we will start with 1970 and go backwards from there. Anyone that graduated from Jackson High School up to 1970 would be eligible for the first class of inductees. The second year, we would go from the 70s through 1990, I believe. And then the third year, we would go from 90 to current. We plan on right now taking 15 people the first round. And one of the things that we need to make clear is that if you don't make the cut the first round, say you graduated someone graduated in 1955 and they don't make the top 15, they're not always out. They just wouldn't be able to get in the first, second, or third year. After that third year, we hope to be caught up, and then everybody is eligible again at that point, and they can come from any decade and get into the Hall of Fame at any time. I think we determined that you have to be out of school for 5 years before you're eligible. We didn't want to make it too early to be inducting people, a year or two after they got out of high school. A couple other things. I think we did have one automatic qualifier was if you are a first team All-State, your automatic qualifier, or if your team qualified to the state, or if you're an individual state champion, you're a qualifier. Brian, Kim, am I leaving anything out?
I think that pretty much covers it.
No.
So, again, long overdue. I've had tons of people that have asked me about it, including you guys at different times. So, a committee has been selected, and they'll begin work on that real soon. I mean, like within the next few days. So, hopefully, we can count on being able to induct our first class here sometime during basketball season.
How will they, what's the recognition? How will you recognize them in the building or?
The hallway that goes, when you come into the commons from outside and you go towards the gym, if you go down that hallway where most of our people go to sit on the home side, you walk past the ATM on the right, that wall on the left-hand side going down through there, it's a big blank wall. It'll hold a lot of, we'll be able to do it for years and years and years there, and that's where it will be initially. So we'll have some kind of a plaque or something with their name and picture on it, and then each of the inductees will get something for themselves as well.
Will that include cheerleaders as well as basketball, football, baseball?
Yeah, they absolutely can get nominated for that, yes.
And it
Thank
is a nomination process online.
It's yeah.
Yeah. We will have some paper ones, though, we said, for
Good.
some of them that maybe don't want to use the online process, but.
Thank you, I like that.
Are you planning on taking 15 every year?
No, that's a good
No.
question. We thought that
We're gonna run out of
starting off,
3 years.
starting off, we needed to do 15 because we got to catch up.
Mhm.
But then after year 3,
Up to 5.
up to
Yeah.
5. And at some point, you
might-
may not even
Do one.
need to do 5. Maybe there's only 1 or 2 that are worthy, but. Okay. The last thing that I have here is just our information about our parent and our staff surveys. I sent that information to you. First of all, I want to thank anyone who's watching, parents or even our staff that responded to the survey. I was really pleasantly surprised at the responses. We had about 1,200 responses to our parent survey, and out of those 1,200 responses was really representing about 1,700 students, because some of those people had 2 or 3 or 4 kids in our district. So about 17 out of 2,400 of our students were represented by this survey. And the survey, I personally got more out of reading the comments than I did the actual questions, and I know some of you guys have read the comments. There was, I think clearly, if our community wants to go back to school 5 days a week, people have concerns about childcare. Was a big issue for a lot of people, and even if we do end up going with the blended model where we're in school a couple days and out 3 days, and that poses problems for people that are working, we would have to be really diligent as a staff to make sure that, and this is something I feel like I need to say because it came up a lot in the survey, we have a lot of families that have kids that don't have the same last name in them. And so if we would, and I'm not sure how we would divide the students, if we divided if we decided to go half our kids 2 days, and then Wednesday be a robust cleaning day and online day, and then Thursday and Friday the other half. I'm not sure how we would divide those, but if we did, I mean, one thing that really jumps out is obviously alphabetically, A through M or whatever. But the problem is that you could have a student with the last name Brown and Smith in the same household. So for those people, we have to make sure that those kids go to school on the same day, or else we put them in a situation where now they have to worry about childcare for 5 days instead of just the 3 days. So that would be something that, I mean, frankly, our secretaries are probably better at knowing that information than anyone else, because they know the families so much better and who lives in what household. So that would be something that, just to ease people's minds, if we end up going that route, that we would make sure that happened, is that students who live in the same household, regardless of last name, we would try to make sure and do everything we can that those students are all in school on the same day. Another hot question that came up was the use of masks and whether students should wear masks. I'm going to be honest with you. I've told the board that we might as well just figure out that we're not going to please everybody. I mean, it's absolutely impossible when you looked at the results of the survey. Prior to the survey, and part of the reason that we wanted to do the survey, I got 2 calls within a half hour one day of someone asking if we're going to have to wear masks. And at the time, didn't know, still don't know today whether we will. It's still a long way from, the middle of August. But and the lady said, well, if you don't make every student wear a mask, I'm going to take my kid out of Jackson City Schools. Within a half hour, I had another call, same question, and that lady said, if you do make my kid wear a mask, I'm taking my kid out of the Jackson City Schools. So, we're not going to be able to win, but I will say that if you once polling the community, most of the people don't want the kids to have to wear a mask. Now, again, there were several that said, they wanted a mask, but percentage-wise, it was overwhelmingly that they don't want them to wear a mask. I'm trying to think what other significant things came out of that. They clearly want 5 days a week, if possible. If forced to choose between a blended model or all online, they want some school as opposed to no school. That was clear. You guys most of you saw the survey. What did you?
I think they want normal. They want as normal as they can get, recess, lunch. I noticed a lot of
There
them
was a lot.
said, we want to feel like our kids don't have to be isolated from each other
Mhm.
either. I think they want normal. I mean, we all do.
And one comment that I saw several times, and I think this was very fair, and honestly, I think it's probably the best response that you could give. Several people made the response that, as of right now, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and actually things are, I think right now, starting to get a little worse than what they were a couple of weeks ago. But as of right now, I would want my kids to be in school 5 days a week. However, that could change between now and then, because you can't just make a decision right now based on something that's going to happen 6 or 8 weeks from now. And I saw that comment several times that people made that, 2 weeks ago they would be okay with their kids coming back to school, but they reserve the right to change their mind if the situation gets worse. So again, I appreciate our community and our families for taking the time to fill that out. That is good information for us to have to be able to make those decisions going forward. And right now, we're expecting guidance and direction from the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Health, or Health Department. I actually thought that we might have it yesterday or today. We don't yet. Maybe it'll come tomorrow or Friday. And then once we get that guidance and direction, we can take a look at that and see how close we are to being able to meet that. And from what I've been told, the governor and the Ohio Department of Education, they're not going to issue mandates or requirements to us. They're going to give us some guidelines and recommendations, and every district is going to be on their own, be local control. I mean, there's a lot of good to that. I mean, a lot of times we complain about them mandating certain things to us, but I see good with that, I see bad with that. I mean, you could have within the county here, every school district doing something different. Wellston could be going 5 days a week, Oak Hill could be using a blended model, and we could be doing all online. So every Board of Education and superintendent is going to be looking at this differently, unless those guidelines and recommendations end up being mandates, but that's not what we're being told right now. They say they don't want to use a one-size-fits-all, and I understand that. I mean, you know, we don't live in downtown Columbus. Things are different in Jackson County and Vinton County than they are in downtown Columbus. So we shouldn't have to go by all of the rules that they do. So we will obviously need to wait until we get that direction and guidance and take a look at that, and then we can start to plan. I mean, rest assured though, I mean, we have basically 3 different models that we're looking at that we should be able to pull out and use at any time. But we probably won't know which one until we get closer. And I understand that people need to know, and we will let people know as soon as we possibly can. People need to make plans for childcare and so forth. And as soon as we know, and as soon as we can, we are going to let our people know. And I suspect that in defense of Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Health Department, they're in the same boat. I mean, you know, I've been upset because it's taken so long for us to get some information from them, but then when I reflect on it and say, well, really, I mean, how do I expect them to give me guidance and direction? They don't know any more than I do what's going to happen, you know, 6 or 8 weeks from now. So they want to wait as long as they can, because it's changing every single day. So as soon as we can get some information and make a decision, we'll make sure that that information gets out there. As far as the teacher survey, we use that information to be able to determine, well, for example, one of the things that we saw was that we needed to do some more professional development in certain areas, particularly to prepare some of our people to be able to better deliver instruction. I think our people did a phenomenal job because it was kind of thrust on us at the last second, but I think we can do better, and I know we'll do better when given time to prepare for it. Some of our people were a whole lot better than others at it just because of their experiences. I know I had one mother that told me that she had 2 kids in the school, and that one kid was getting lessons and videos of their teacher teaching and then assignments, and then another teacher was, you know, basically saying do page 56, 1 through 20. We don't want that. We want to deliver instruction and then say do page 56, 1 through 20. So that part we can do a better job of, and we will going forward. But all in all, I thought as a whole our people did a phenomenal job. So Riley and Steve are taking a look at the surveys, trying to determine what we need to offer professional development in to get our people up to speed to better deliver the instruction.
The thing that I was told about is that when the students didn't understand what they were supposed to do or what the lesson was about, they would email or try to call their teacher, and there was no response.
Yeah, and
That's what was the big complaint for the people that I talked with. But they weren't upset. They just said, could we make that better?
Yeah, and I think that there was a lot of our people that were very good at that. I mean, I know that I actually had a couple of those, but I probably had more people telling me that our people were going above and beyond and were actually calling the kids to check on them and so forth. So I had more of that than I did that. But, you know, you've got 174 teachers, and, you know, some did a better job of it than others. I mean, so that's something that we'll need to work on going forward to make sure that we do as good of a job as possibly can. Anything else from the survey that you guys?
That part of the teacher survey that really stood out to me was several of the teachers commented that we need to have some kind of guidance to the parents of when they're trying to get a hold of the teachers. So several of them said, you know, they're getting phone calls, emails, and text messages and messages from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and they were trying to respond to them, but it was basically encompassing their entire day and evening trying to do that, and that because kids were working on them at different times of the day.
Yep.
and I can understand that where that would be really frustrating, where you feel like you were, I think they could have felt a little overwhelmed because it was thrust on them, you know, hey, we need lesson plans for the foreseeable future tomorrow. And they didn't have a very guided work schedule. It was kind of day and night for those times, so.
Yeah.
I think since it's also, they don't want to be teachers. That was pretty much, you know, they don't mind helping, but they do need more lesson,
Mhm.
more direction.
From the parents. yeah.
Parents, yes.
Okay, that's really the only things that I have. Anybody else has anything?
I was out scouting around last night just to get out of the house, and we came down here. I spotted the 2 foxes that roam the hillside over there.
By
They
my
are
office, yeah.
beautiful. And young couple, I had the student, the male as a student, but I cannot tell you his name right now. Know the face like the back of my hand, but the name will not come. Don't get old, it's painful. Anyhow, he complimented the school district on the way we handled graduation.
Oh.
Very, very highly complimented. They were very pleased with it. They thought the kids got the highest regard given in the way you did it, and he wanted everybody to know that.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the things that I was going to mention. And Kim, we had a conversation a week or so ago. One of the things that we wanted to do was bring those people here that were the brains behind that operation and recognize them. But given that we didn't open our meeting up this evening, maybe we can do that at a later time. But, you know, I've said Steve Marion, our head technology director, and Riley, everybody knows that, how much work that they did. But there were other people that were behind the scenes, and Mr. Marion made sure to let me know that. And I know Lisa Walker put a lot of work in. Laurel, Steve's wife, there were, you know, Adam Rippeth, and it was really a team effort. And I told those guys that the pressure was on before we started that, because I don't care how good it was the day that the student and the parents came in for their 10 minutes. The final product is what it's going to be judged by. And I had a ton of people that were actually texting me while it was playing on TV. And one of the things they said they really liked was that this is something you don't get to see. You come to the regular graduation in Alumni Stadium, but they really enjoyed seeing the students say, you know, hi, I'm Phil Howard. I plan to attend the University of Rio Grande and major in, you know, education. You don't know that, but you got to sit there and watch and see what every one of our students, what their plans are after graduation. The other thing was, as far as handing out a diploma, you're never going to get the opportunity to, have a grandparent, you know, hand out a diploma, unless you're, you know, one of our faculty members here, or we had situations where we had younger siblings, older siblings. I think we had a second grader that handed a diploma to her graduating sister. So those things were really unique, and I think that we made the best that we could out of it. We made sure that we got it out there as much as we could. We had it on a couple of TV stations. It was on the local cable channel, and I was just really pleased with the job that they did. I was really amazed at how seamless it was. I mean, even though, you know, we weren't necessarily there the whole time, watching it seemed like we were. So.
Well, I talked to a few people, and they brought that up. They said, how did they make it just seem like everybody that was involved was there? I mean, it just looked like everybody was there, and it was just a fluid, all-night thing that they did. And I said, that's because that's how good they are. I mean, really good at what they do.
So, Riley, you're here tonight, so we'll thank you personally, and
Thank you.
let everyone else know.
Chance,
Chance,
Chance
yeah.
too, yes, we
Yeah,
forget about
both
him.
Billy,
guys.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them, but we'll get them in here
Yes.
sometime to recognize them. So
Riley,
thanks.
when you said you were going to tile the tassel turn and the hat thing, I could not picture what that was going to look like. It was fantastic, though. I loved how it kept moving through, and you could see all the kids. I thought that was fantastic.
We tried a couple different ways, and that just seemed to flow. It wasn't too long, but yet you could still kind of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I actually had probably 4 or 5 parents that have been in the office that said that they liked this better than traditional graduation
Mhm.
because the kids got, for 10, 15 minutes, it was just about
Them.
that student, about that graduate. And I had a couple say that we should consider doing that in the future because they liked it so well. I don't know if that's such a great idea, but, but they, just meaning that they enjoyed it that much, they thought it was not just acceptable, but fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. I totally forgot.
Thank you for all you've done.
Anybody have anything else? If not, I'll need a motion to adjourn to go into executive session to discuss some upcoming contract negotiation.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We're adjourned into executive session.